Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Couple of questions. So this school can be a mix of kids that we would consider to be juvenile delinquents as well as kids who are victims of abuse, correct?
Representative Slater.
There are 8 there's a list of 8 eligibilities as it relates to at-risk students. And yes, both of those that you mentioned are on that list of 8. That is correct.
Representative Johnson.
Thank you. And that can cause quite a problem in a residential situation because kids who have been abused tend to become victims in situations like this. And what we've seen in other charter schools like this, residential situations, that it puts kids at danger. There's been sexual abuse, there's been physical abuse, and in most of these situations. And so it's very concerning to me that we are putting kids in, more vulnerable kids in, with kids who have, been perpetrators. So I guess another question I have is, this removes a parent from the board of the charter school, correct? There's no parent that has to be on the board for the charter school?
Representative Slater.
Yes, as the legislation is written, it's not required that there would be a parent on the board. There is no prohibition from parents being on the board of the charter schools, however, and it certainly would be helpful for there to be a parent, but given the nature of the 8 types of at-risk students, we feel it best not to require there to be a parent. For some of the reason that you just mentioned, children of abuse, if it was familial abuse, that could be very sticky. And so that's the reason for that, but there's no prohibition to a parent serving on the board.
Representative Johnson.
Yes, I think it's important that, you would be cautious of what parent you put on the board, but to have that parent on the board. And then typically when you have a residential school, like say a school for the deaf or school for the blind, those cost over, I think, $100,000 per student per year, and they are allowed to go home on the weekends. Will these students be going home on the weekends?
Representative Slater.
The bill is silent as to whether or not that would be the case. There is no prohibition, though, for students to go home, and I would certainly think that the type of residential school that might be developed, that policies would determine whether or not that would be the case. But there's no prohibition, and the bill is silent on that matter.
Representative Johnson.
Yes, and that concerns me, not allowing for it, because I talked to folks from the disability community who believe that that is going to be something that is not allowed. So for me, when there's not a parent on the board, when you're mixing kids that have been perpetrators and kids who are victims, kids with disabilities, it's very concerning to me in these residential situations. And that's why we've seen it time and time again in situations like this. And I think that even though I understand what you're trying to do, it hasn't been successful yet anywhere that I have heard about, and it's concerning to me some of the problems that can develop. And so I just cannot support this legislation as it is written. I understand what you're trying to do, but I don't think there are enough safeguards in this to protect children and families. But thank you.
Representative Slater.
Thank you for your thoughtful comments, and I renew my motion.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you. Move previous question.
Previous question being called.